Welcome to ZombieChickenTaco.com. I'm X8105. You can call me X8. I'm on the forums. We looked at making a hedgestone this last time around. This time around, we're going to look at what I did wrong on that last one, aside from starting a hedgestone out of a brush and not on a patch. But we could have done some different ways of creating a hedgestone. This is just beginner tools and trying to flesh something out with beginner tools. There's trying to think of some things that I really should have implemented, but because they're speed tutorials, I completely forgot to throw them in there. Things like layers. In this layer, if I were to create this as a prefab, which I think I'm going to do right now. Let's do that right now. We're going to create a prefab of this map, which is really simple. All you want to do is go to Save As. You have a map source file. You want to go into prefabs, and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this VidTut. Video tutorials, and we're going to call this hedgestone. It's gravestone. That's good enough. Gravestone. Now, if we come in here and we go File, New Map, and we want to put this hedgestone in our map, and we could do this. We could just slap this all over the place if we really wanted to. What we're going to do is right-click in the 2D view, and we're going to go to Miscellaneous Prefab. Now, get used to this, people. You're going to have to go on and hunt these things down, and sometimes just manually typing it in doesn't work too well. So, we're going to go into Prefabs, and we're going to go into VidTut, and we're going to select Gravestone. That puts that right on our map. Remember, our Shift-D will allow us to rotate this. Shift-D. Yeah, it looks like they did fix it. It does rotate on origin now, which is nice. And we can hit the spacebar, and we can actually stamp this prefab all over the place now. Oh my goodness, we've got a lot of dead people here. So that's just one of the wonderful, beautiful things with prefabs you can do. Now, there's a little trick. Whoops, let's go back out. Insert and delete will also scale you in and out on that screen if you don't have a mouse wheel. Holding down the Shift key and left-clicking on these, I can hold down the left click as well and just hover around and select all of those. I'm going to keep one of them, so I'm going to hit Shift Select and deselect it actually. And we're going to take this one and we're going to put it right there in origin, right on the very tip of our map. Put it right there on the ground. It's on the ground, right in the origin. And we're going to go into this. How do you go into this without having to go back up to File, Gravestone? You can actually go into it by going and selecting the item, the prefab you want to go into, and you're going to hold down the Alt button, and then you're going to hit the Page Down button, which is above your arrow keys over on the right there in your keyboard. Page Down. So Alt and Page Down will go right into that prefab. Now we can select each of an individual piece. We can make alterations to this by, let's say we didn't want the cross that color, so we're going to hit Control A to show all textures, and we're going to put the cross as a copper, like a rusted. There we go. It's a little bit different there. So now we're going to save this. You can either save it by hitting here on the little disc up the top, going to File, Save, or I prefer Control S, and you will get a ding indicating that it has saved. Also, if you look down at the bottom, you move this up just a little bit. I like to hide it so I can have more viewing area. It shows you that showing all textures, updating layers, scroll down, saved. That's the last option on or item on that list of things it's done. Put that back. That's pretty much your prefab. So we're going to hit Control Page Out, and we're all the way out, and we can take the, oops, I thought we were all the way out. Let's try that again. It's Alt Page Up, not Control Page Up. A couple things we didn't do correctly in the last time around in this one is we didn't do it right because we didn't add these as detailed or weapon or any kind of brushes or clips. So what we need to do is we need to go back into it with the Alt Page Down, goes into it, and we want to select this brush, and we're going to right click in 2D, right click in 3D, either one. We're going to go to Make Detail. What that does is, because it's a small little item out there, we don't really need to tell the system to try to calculate every angle off of this one as a visual angle. It really adds to the compile when you have this a structural brush, and if you have a whole bunch of them, things can play a little funny when you start compiling bigger and bigger maps. So the best thing to do is probably detail on that one. This one, because it's a decal, I would recommend, highly recommend non-colliding, because now we can put a generic decal on it. I'm just going to put this chalk for the heck of it. It doesn't even look right. You can barely see it. No, let's try to find something else. Let's do Ascend from Darkness. Ooh, there's a vine. Let's put a vine on there. Still not working. We gotta find something a little smaller. There we go. Put some vines on there. We're gonna pretend that's our decal for now. Also, this cross up here, this could be a couple of different things. We can either make this just weapon colliding, because the weapon, you still want to bounce off of it. You just go pting, you want that reflective bullet to smash off of there, and you see the effects come streaming down from the dust. And we're going to make this a weapon clip. Now we've got three different types in our prefab here. We've got a weapon clip, we've got detail, and we've got non-colliding. Each one of these brushes are very functional in how we design our maps. A couple other things we could probably do in here is we could take this hedgestone and we can add an extra point of interest on there. To do that, we probably want to cut it here and here, and delete this edge. Now we've got a few edges here, a few more edges that we can play with to make this a little bit rounder, make it a little bit more realistic than before, where it was not quite as pretty. See, you can see the difference from one side to the other. There's a little bit of adjustment that I'd probably do to it. Bring that up a little bit, and probably bring the cross up again. And now I don't like that outside of the brush. Now here's some other some of the tools that we discussed earlier. Let's go to hit E, open up your edge tool. E again deselects the edge tool, so we have the face. We're going to bring that over and hit the space bar. We'll duplicate that. Now why did I duplicate that? I wanted to show you the flip tool a little bit more extensively. If you look on our X axis, if we want to flip it, see the X points to my left here. We want that to point to the right, or the stone to actually go the opposite direction. So that's the one we're going to be working with. It's the X. Don't want the Y, don't want the Z. Notice we have a little cock tool. We got a little cocking up there we got to fix too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip that. See, I've got the two pieces there. I'm going to flip that on the X. Bam, flipped. I'm going to move that back over. Now I've got the two versions, but we've got that middle seam there. Probably the best way we want to take care of that is do our CSG merge, if you remember where that is. Right up there. Bam. Now we have one solid detailed piece. And that's pretty much it. A little bit of cleanup. Boom, boom. With the Control Shift left click on each one of those, we'll select the faces again as a refresher. And this is an interesting little bit, and will be covered more in textures, but you can hit your middle mouse key, which is your scroll wheel, and make that click, and anything selected and whatever you click on will become that. If you notice that again, I can turn those to the brown if I wanted to, but I don't want to do that. I want to turn that back to the plaster there. That's pretty much it, and we just detailed that out a little bit more. Catch you on the flip side.